Yeah, welcome to our live stream from the North Pole from our ArcWatch expedition. We just arrived at the pole, and we have the pleasure today to join you a bit with the expedition and with the drone around the vessel. You can see already the tracks that the group did in the last weeks, now reaching the North Pole. So the gray line is the track, and the red dot in the middle, that's where Polarstern is right today. They work quite a bit on the ice, in the ocean, and in the atmosphere, because that's the concept of this expedition, to do a large regional survey through the Arctic, also connected to the GeoTraces program, looking for trace substances, mostly in the water and for the ecosystem. They deployed various autonomous devices, as you can see on this picture. These are platforms that stay in the ocean, on the ice, under the ice, even after Polarstern has left the site. People setting up instruments with Polarstern usually anchored to the ice, as you can see in the background. On the port side, people can access the ice. But today we want to focus on this thing, the drone, a Matrix 350. That's the drone that we use for different applications on these expeditions these days. First of all, you can obviously just get video images, as we can see here with Polarstern on the edge of the floe. You can fly ahead of the vessel to find good spots on the floe to help navigation through the ice. We can map the ice, we can document what measurements were done where on the ice and in the ocean around. And with that, we get a good impression of the entire ice conditions. As you can see, you're welcome to ask questions in the chat, and I will try to answer them. By the way, just to introduce myself shortly, my name is Marcel Nikolaus. I'm a sea physicist at the Alfred-Wegener-Institut. I'm part of the ArcWatch program, but not on board this year. Oh, I can see now the stream might be a bit delayed, so now you can see the people working on the ice. Okay, now I have two synchronous streams again. So obviously the technology is a bit difficult. So we have different streams that we merge together here in Germany, even me sitting in Austria and the vessel in the ice. So yeah, I think now we get to the point where the matrix is introduced. So that's the drone that you can hopefully see now again. Matrix 350, a drone that can carry various sensor platforms. And we want to show you now a few examples before we go to the live image of the drone of what we can usually do with the drone, how we use the system. Maybe I'll just talk more about the ice station work, as long as we can see the ice station here on the image. So drilling holes in the ice, getting access to the ocean, in that case with a big tripod you can see in the middle, is obviously a main part of the work. And from there we can release things into the ocean, but we can also take various samples of the ice, which then can be analyzed for trace metals, for substances, for organisms living in the ice, for nutrients, for the exchange of fluxes. Okay, and now we have got the live view with Thomas operating the drone on the ice. So the drone is sitting on the ice to start for the flight of today. Today we have the camera on board, just giving you visual images. Otherwise, we also often have operate with a laser scanner, which gives us three-dimensional images, or with an infrared camera, which we can then use to study the thermal properties of the surface, like thin ice, like leads, like open water fractions. So the drone is taking off. That's the view from the bridge to the drone, where Ben, the expedition leader, the chief scientist on board, is the cameraman for that operation right now. And then we hope to switch to the drone images that come live from the drone to you, which will then show us the flow in a better overview and also Polarstern and the surroundings. Yes, so Polarstern alongside of the flow, port side to the ice, starboard to the open ocean. So on the open ocean side, we can work in the ocean. On the left-hand side, on the port side, we can work on the ice. You can see a few tracks, people walking over the ice, a few items of equipment laying on the ice for work, where people work with it. This is more a top-down nadir view where we can see the ice structures, the pressure ridges, which are these alignments, which give shadows from the sun, and the new ice to the starboard side, the more grayish ones, and the more white ice with snow covered, the older ice on the bottom part of the image. I heard that the audio quality is pretty bad. We can apologize for that. I'm not sure where that is coming from, that if that's delayed or if that's just me being too silent. So I'm still waiting for the real live images, or at least I only got a standing image. If people also see now the reddish image, that's what I was referring to earlier. This is the infrared camera that we can fly with the drone, where the more reddish or the warmer colors are indeed the warmer ice, where we can see the thinner ice in reddish and the thicker ice in a bit darker. This is the point cloud that I mentioned from the laser scanner. This is just a screen view of the point cloud where we can zoom in and out and get a really high, very high resolution impression of the drone, of the ice surface from the drone. So this was produced in the last days on board from another example, so obviously not from today, because the laser scanner data need post-processing on board. We don't have them in the live view. Yeah, but you can really see how the pressure ridges stick out to the surface, how Polarstern is in the background. Another option for to get surface topography is not from the laser scanner, but just from photomosaics that are stitched from photogrammetry. Then many pictures are overlaid, and from that we can merge visual images of the ice with the height information, so that we get pressure ridges and structures from the ice surface in this three-dimensional grid that we can then rotate, and later on we can also localize other measurements that we did on the ice at that time. Oh, now we can see Ben on board. Hello, Ben. We have Ben in the control on the bridge, or the back part of the bridge. That's what we call the observational alley, from where you have a good view over these things. So we can see Ben there. But I'm still waiting for the live view from the drone of today. We'll be curious to see what's going on the ice right now. Yeah, and I've only highlighted Ben so far, but yeah, Mario, you're right in the chat. The other person is Jan Rickert from his project team, from the Vampire team, one of the other projects going on, looking into the atmosphere from Polarstern. So I'm a bit wondering myself how to get to that stream.
Hey, hello.
Maybe somebody can send me a message, either from Polarstern or from elsewhere.
So there's two of us. There's me.
Yeah, okay, so
So you can see
Jana
me,
and Ben are waving. Ben, we would like to see the drone images.
And Marcel already introduced things. Behind
I
us,
guess
you see
it's somewhere
the
a
meteorological
little
office.
hiccup between
And
the drone and
maybe
the
Jana can say a
Polarstern
couple
itself,
of
while
words.
the stream from
Yes, my
Polarstern to
name
here
is
seems to be good.
I'm a physicist at the University of Bremen, and I'm here on the cruise to study the Arctic atmosphere and the sea ice using remote sensing methods.
Okay, now we're going to call the drone folks to start. So we're going to change the image to the actual drone. Now you can still hear us, but you should see the drone live stream. The drone is actually on the helicopter deck. So the way we are looking now, it's the camera behind, like 20-30 meters behind is the helicopter deck. So today the drone will start from there, not from the ice, as yesterday the tests were successful. So I'm going to call them. Thomas for Ben. So you can start the drone now. We have the live stream on. I hope they will show up in YouTube with a bit of delay soon. Okay, copy.
Home point updated. Check map to confirm.
Okay, maybe we come back to a bit more audio from my side here, that we don't have only the beeping. So we get a flight over the flow. We can see some remote installations and obviously the scooter tracks between Polarstern and other places. You can see that the tracks are not directly between the points because we always want to avoid going disturbing all the surfaces, but stick to very particular tracks. We fly over what we call an EOS, an Arctic Ocean Profiling System. So you only see the surface part of it, but there's a chain of several hundred meters of cable and sensors hanging under it to measure the ocean properties over the next year. Then we fly to one of our huts or tents out there. Tents are obviously needed for shelter. People do, in that case, probably microstructure sounding of the ocean from a hole into the ocean under the tent. We fly along one of the other routes that we have toward another remote post. So we distribute our sensors so that they don't interfere with each other, but at the same time they still send data from the same ice flow. What we find here is probably another few buoys. These boxes could, let me see what it is. Oh, that could also be just instruments that are moored into the ice while the station is. So they probably take samples and measurements right there. And in the end of the day, before they leave that station again, they will recover these instruments and samples. So some of these instruments that we have, they remain in the Arctic. They will send us data through Iridium and other networks over the next months. And obviously, a key part of it. Oh, we have Ben again. Okay, let's fly back over or towards the vessel. The weather is not too great, as we can see. People will probably mostly say. However, I would say the weather is pretty good because we are very much used to all these foggy conditions. So having an Arctic expedition in summer like now is usually characterized by a lot of fog and a lot of fog and moist air. So this is one of the reasons why we use also the drones, because with the drones we extend the possibilities of airborne surveys, because helicopter flight conditions are much more restricted what we can do with helicopters. So there are conditions where we can fly a drone but not a helicopter yet, and obviously taking the risk with a drone is much less than taking a risk of a helicopter with people in it. So, and with the different sensors that I mentioned, like infrared cameras, laser scanners, other cameras, we also have drones that can carry atmospheric sensors. Today, we have made quite some progress in using drones for airborne measurements that were before only possible with helicopters. But still, the helicopters certainly have a big advantage still by having a much longer range, having much more capability of carrying big and large sensors. Like our ice thickness measurement device, the EM-Bird can obviously not be carried by a drone. So we see Polarstern nicely anchored to the floe, the gangway with a crane on the port side and the aft. The sun along the horizon. Because we are in the Arctic as here, but in the Arctic it's more obvious, we are approaching day and night equinox. So the sun will turn around the North Pole one more time before it sinks for the next half a year. So it's a lot of work in these twilight and foggy conditions. And then again, with the drones, we can fly ahead of the ship. And together with that map and charting system that we briefly saw in the introduction, we can nowadays stream drone images right into that software, and that can help the bridge to find the best possible way through the ice, and with that being much more efficient in navigating. So people grouping on the ice to head out for various measurements. So you can wave to people, or the people there can just straight wave from the North Pole to you now. We're a bit sorry for the delay. So obviously it is that the sound and the image and my comment and partly Ben at the same time is not perfectly coordinated here. But I mean, I find it's very amazing that we can have this technology to have these things, but obviously with the various streams and delays and offsets, it's not always too easy to see what's happening or where things might have a little hiccup in this technology. The thing that you can see there in front, that's the North Pole monument, let's call it. So usually when Polarstern reaches the pole, the people from the ship, they do a big effort in also making it a remarkable day for the science crew on board. They set up flags and way signs, and you can bring your own way sign to your home place and see how many 1,000 kilometers that is. Take a souvenir photos, putting up flags. So here, obviously, somebody just get the photo shot of themselves in front of that way sign thing. So the drone has landed on the ice, I suppose. Has landed on the ice. Yeah, I just got confirmation from the flow, so they landed the drone. I assume it's probably the battery exchange. So we can see a few more archive pictures that were recorded just yesterday evening. So same place, but just the night before. Obviously, they had a pretty nice evening, a bit better visibility than we had during this flight now. And the more light you have, the better you can see contrasts. And that's obviously very, very helpful when working on the ice, because this very wide area often leads to whiteout conditions, like others might know maybe from alpine regions. But then it's really difficult just to walk or even drive with a snowmobile over the ice, because you don't really see if it's going up or down and just in front of you, if there's soft snow, thick snow, or hard surface for your next step. So having light conditions like we see now is much more preferred to conditions as we had them in the live video, or even worse than that. The flows that we anchor to, they are often kilometers large. Then we go with our instrument away from the flow edge, because on the flow edge it's most risky that we lose the instruments over time. So we go a few hundred meters into the flow to set up our installations. If there's free time, every now and then people can also just go for a walk on the ice, and we restrict the access to the first few hundred meters in a so-called logistic zone. So where people don't stumble over instruments or don't walk through fields that should be sampled later on, but then that people even have the chance while they're in the Arctic on a 10-week expedition, so they can still at least once in that time walk more than 100 meters straight ahead. So the drone live view for today is ended, I heard, and but we can still have a look to these new ice formations. So at this time of the year, we are at the minimum sea ice extent, and sea ice starts to form in the northern regions, like in particular at the North Pole. So you can see some remnants of the old ice in whitish, and the very grayish thin ice that is forming. When we planned this live stream from today, we even had one big uncertainty, and that is how would a drone behave right at the North Pole, where everywhere is south and where you have a GPS compensated and supported navigation system. So we were a bit nervous that that drone might simply just crash and fall down. So obviously they managed to have a safe and good landing just at the end of the battery lifetime. Yeah, here we see what they installed yesterday, these instruments, these big buoys. So we are almost half an hour into the stream. I would like to thank you for your attention. I was very pleased to see all these very positive comments that people enjoyed joining us there. I wish good luck to the expedition, to the scientists and the crew on board to continue to enjoy the Arctic as it's there as much as they can, and then have a very good and safe trip back home to Tromsø, at least in the first place. I thank you to all of you watching us today, more than 150 people. I'm pleased that this worked out. Yeah, and maybe see you soon and back again when we have the next stream from one of our expeditions, maybe already next summer. We'll see. Bye-bye from me.